This is going to be my September wrap up. I'm kind of here early with it. I'm not going to lie to you. It is currently the 23rd. We still have like a smooth 6-7 days left, but I probably won't be reading anything else. I'm currently in the middle of a book right now, which I'll probably finish today, but I have a hectic schedule this week, so I don't really know if I'll be able to get into anything. And if I do, I probably won't be able to finish it before September is up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this wrap up now so I can let y'all know everything that I read this month. Let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? I actually shocked myself because like I told y'all in my previous videos, I've been kind of down in the dumps, ADHD, burnout, all of the things. Life just been lifing. So I was really going to take my time this month, which I did, but I didn't really have any expectations. You know, I knew what I wanted to read, but I didn't know if I was really going to be able to get through a good bit of these books. So I'm happy to say that I did get through a majority of them that was on my TBR. I think there might be like one or two that I just changed my mind on because I am a big mood reader. I kind of just changed my mind. I wasn't in the mood for the topics at hand that was in those books. So I just put them back on my shelf and found something else. I'm happy to say I did get through a total of 9 books this month. Go ahead and clap for me. Thank you. You're too kind. You're all just so very kind. I'm going to start off on the lighter side of things because y'all know I'm really a dark romance girly, but I like just about anything. I read just about anything. So I'm going to start off with the cute little fluffy type books that I got into, okay? These 2 books I actually listened to on Audible. However, I believe they're both available on Kindle. The first book is called Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. The second book is called What the Hex by the same author, okay? I'm not sure if this is going to be a full-blown series or if this is just a duology. But either way, I had a good time with both of these. I think I rated both of them a 4. I rated both of them a 4. And it's wild because I really wasn't expecting to be that pulled into the story. I'm not going to lie to you. However, I am one of those people that like I love fluff. I love a little bit of cringiness. You know what I mean? So when I read these type of stories, I don't know, it just gives me little butterflies. You know, it tickles the girl in me. It tickles the fancy of the girl in me. Okay. Per usual, I don't ever really remember the names when I go into Audibles unless I've already read the physical copy. So I don't remember the names in either one of these books. So don't judge me, okay? Those that've been here for a while, y'all already know what time it is. Just love me for who I am. But the first book, I had to pull up my Goodreads, y'all, because, you know, y'all know I like to ramble, I get off topic, so Goodreads. So the first book, you have the FMC who is looking for a job. She sees this job in this newspaper. She pulls up to the interview and just happens to walk into a house full of witches and warlocks, essentially. She had no idea that this is what the job was. She thought that these people were crazy. She thought that these people were just pretending to be witches or whatever the case may be. But she took the job anyway because the job paid very, 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 very good, all right? The job that she was given, she basically applied to be the witch's assistant, but she did not know what that really came with. Like I said, she wasn't aware that these are real witches. So she's just kind of going along with the flow. The job that she's given is basically what they would call a familiar. And basically with the familiar, they would use these assistants, so to speak, their familiars, to help them cast spells. Basically, like the familiar is basically like their battery pack, okay? They need somebody that has energy in order to put the most energy into their spells. Because of the fact that she's kind of going into this job blind and has no clue that this is really, this is really tea, that this is really a warlock, this is really a witch, they really do magic. It was a lot of comedy. Like, I laughed at a lot of different parts listening to this book, okay? There was definitely spice in there, which made it even funnier to me. The spice wasn't funny, but it was giving rom-com. Like, this was definitely a rom-com witchy spooky season type of book, y'all. So if you want to laugh, if you want to get a good little chuckle in, if you want to giggle a little bit and kick your feet in the air, I feel like this will be a good book to get into. I don't really feel like I can give y'all a full-blown storyline without telling you what the story is, because the storyline kind of, like if I tell you too much, it'll give the whole story away. So the most I'll tell you is it's Grumpy Sunshine. It is enemies to lovers. There is spice, like I said. There's comedy. There's witches. There are warlocks. There's curses. There's magic. You know, it was a good time. The FMC really irked me, though, because she was really, really controlling throughout the book. She was controlling, but it does give a little bit of her background as to why she is the way that she is and why she feels like she has to have some semblance of control in her life. So, you know, I ain't gonna pass too much judgment on sis, but she was very aggy. She was very much aggy. Which brings us to book 2, which is What the Hex. So this one, once again, is another like Grumpy Sunshine type of book. The girl is really super duper bubbly and the guy is just very over over life, okay? He doesn't even like loud colors. He likes his blacks and his grays. He's one of them, okay? Like anything that even shows a ounce of sunshine, he's just like, get that shit the fuck out of here. This book was so funny. Both of these books were hilarious. Like just listening to it and not really knowing what's coming, I was in here cracking up. One of the parts that really, really, really made me laugh, like I told y'all about the first book, she's a familiar, so she has to work with this warlock clearly, and she is assisting him in all of his spells. Y'all tell me why every single time he casts a spell, she has a big O. And it's the funniest thing because he's unaware that that's what's happening. He's unaware that that's what's going on every time he casts a spell. She is over there just turning beet red, trying to hold back the sounds and all type of things. Like, y'all, I was in here cracking up, okay? If it sounds like your cup of tea, go ahead and get into it, y'all. I'm not saying they were the best of the best books, but they were good to me. I had a good time with both of these, and I thought it was one of those cute little cozy rom-com type books for spooky season. So if that's the type of vibe that you're into, I definitely suggest getting into it. The next book that I'm going to talk about is a step up from what we just came from. Okay, so it's not a little cozy mystery type of thing. This is more of a psychological thriller type book. Okay, I'm referring to The Lake by Natasha Preston. All right, this was actually on my TBR for this month, and I did get around to completing it. It was a very short, easy to read type of book. However, I'm not a fan of her writing style, so it just didn't do it for me personally. I also wasn't a fan of this book. I'm not going to hold you. I think I rated this 2 stars on Goodreads. Let me explain. FMC in this book was so insufferable. She aggravated me throughout the entire book, y'all. Like, oh my God. Before I get into why I did not like this book, let me give you a quick synopsis of what's going on, okay? So without giving you the entire storyline, there are 2 girls that are going to be counselors at this summer camp, okay? This summer camp they actually used to go to when they were younger. Now, when they went to this camp as children, there was something traumatic or something tragic or something just crazy that took place, and they never came back, okay? So now that they're older, they're returning to the camp as counselors, and while they are there, it's a lot of freaky shit that's taking place, okay? And I don't mean freaky in a good way. I mean paranormal or, you know, spooky, if you will. With all that being said, it's a mystery of trying to figure out who's behind what's going on and if they know the secret that took place all of those years ago, okay? Within saying that, one of the things that irked me so much with the FMC is every single chapter she was reminding us of something terrible happening without telling us what the fuck happened. And I mean, every chapter it was, but we did something so wrong, or oh, something bad took place all those years ago, or oh, I just wonder if they just know that we're just not the good people that they think we are. Like, sis, for the love of God, we understand, okay? We get it. You fucked up. Something happened. Something tragic happened, baby. You don't have to remind us every single chapter that you did something so unspeakable. We get it. We know that's why we're here. Let's just get to it. If you're going to keep bringing it up, you might as well just tell us what it is at this point. Just tell us what you did, sis. Just tell us what the fuck happened all those years ago. You don't have to keep telling us every single chapter that you did something if you're not going to spill the tea. Spill the tea, sis. Now, with all of that being said, this wasn't a bad book because of the FMC or because of the writing style, so to speak. What am I saying? Yes, it was. I'm not one to usually bash authors. Y'all should know that by now. Like, I'm not one that's going to drag a person's book for filth. That's not me. But what I will say is, if you're somebody that's in the beginning stages of reading thrillers, if you enjoy YA type of books, and usually I usually eat YA books down, you know? But this was giving more YA. Okay? So if you're a beginner in that type of genre and you're wanting to get into like the psychological mysteries and the thrillers and the horrors and things of that nature, then this will be the book for you. That's when I would recommend a book like this. But if you're more seasoned when it comes to reading the spooky stuff, or if you're more seasoned when it comes to thrillers and things of that nature, I don't think this is a book that you would really fully enjoy. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't great. I would say the ending, outrageous, okay? The ending was outrageous. And from my knowledge, Natasha likes to do her endings like this all the time. I don't think, this is the first book that I've ever read by her, so I'm not sure if all of her books are like that. But from what it seems like, any book that she writes like this, in this type of category, ends with some type of twist. You're left thinking, okay, what happens now? You know, it's like an open-ended ending is basically the best way that I can describe it. It's kind of up in the air of what type of situation happens after what happened in the book, okay? So, wasn't my favorite. Definitely, I would not recommend unless you're into YA or unless you're a beginner or whatever the case may be. But this just wasn't my favorite. I did not have a good time with this. The next book that I read is Gothicana by Runix, okay? So first off, get into this cover. This cover is beautiful. The pages, the sprayed edges, absolutely gorgeous. The inside of the book, absolutely gorgeous. And all of the chapters also have like of course, they got a map in there. And then the chapters all start off with some type of artwork, which I thought was very, very beautiful, to say the least. You see every chapter, and the artwork is based on whatever the chapter is about, essentially. So I thought that was great. Okay. Now, I did rate this book a 3.5. Did I have a good time with this? Yes. But also no, unfortunately. What I said on TikTok was this was the most boring yet captivating book that I've ever read. It was something, okay? Now, I'm going to explain this book to y'all the same way I explained it on TikTok, because I'm realizing that a lot of people don't really know what Gothicana is about. Whenever somebody gives a review, it's either they are, praising the book, like they loved it so much, or they're genuinely just bashing it, saying that it was the worst book that they ever read. But nobody's really explaining what the book is about, okay? And when I explained this on TikTok, I had a lot of people that was thanking me for the review, because now they know whether or not they want to get into it, because they understand what it's about now. So, first thing first, This is not a fantasy book, okay? A lot of people are thinking that Gothakana is a fantasy book because it has the maps in there. It has a little undertone of fantasy, being that they're talking about witches and magic and things of that nature. You know, that's sprinkled in the book as well. But it's not fantasy, okay? It's not fantasy based, all right? This is what I would consider, you know, and Runix also puts it in the dark romance category, but I wouldn't even say it's that. I wouldn't even say it's dark romance. There is some darkness in the book, and there is a romance in the books, but the romance is not dark, right? So I wouldn't consider this a dark romance either. If I were to put this underneath a specific genre, this would go under paranormal, thriller, or psychological, okay? Perfect for spooky season if that's what you're looking for. So let's get into what this book is about. You have the main female character. Her name is either Corvina or Corvana. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's her name, okay? She comes from a family that has schizophrenia. Both her mom and her dad had schizophrenia, okay? So it's very possible that it too was passed to her because she does hear voices. Now, she gets invited to go to this school. And in this school, it's a lot of paranormal things that's taking place, which heightens the gifts that she already has. And let's keep it a book. The same thing I said on TikTok. A lot of people that are in these mental institutions, or a lot of people that have these mental illnesses and things of that nature, they're gifted in different ways. But that's a different topic for another day. I'm not even going to put my mouth on that right now. But needless to say, she too had some form of schizophrenia, but she too was gifted to where she was hearing different voices and she was able to connect. That's what we call in the spiritual world a medium, or somebody that's able to channel with the dead, okay? And that's what she's able to do. We also have the male main character, and his name is Vad. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. But he is a professor at this school, and he is our morally gray character. So of course you already know how that goes if you read dark romances or if you read anything in that type of, you know, realm. So he's a professor, she's a student, so of course the relationship is forbidden. But the book kind of tried to portray it as a age gap romance a little bit. It's not age gap, y'all. He is literally like a year or two, maybe 3 years older than her. It's more of a forbidden romance due to the fact that he's a professor and she is a student. Now, when both of them come together, things start popping off at this school, essentially. And throughout the book, they're trying to get to the mystery of it all, because there's something that transpires at this school that's been going on for decades, and they're trying to get down to it. A lot is really a mystery over anything. It's a psychological, paranormal mystery type of book, okay? So all throughout the book, they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. What are the voices that she's hearing? You know, who's behind whatever the hell is transpiring at this school and all of the things. Now, I will say that this book does get very, very dark, okay? It is gory in some instances. If you go into it, definitely read the trigger warnings, okay? There's different things in there that may be triggering to different people. There's SA, there's mental health, unaliving others, unaliving yourself type of thing. So like I said, it's dark in that manner. So if you do go into it, please read your trigger warnings. Do not go in blind, just in case this is something that's not for you. Now, with all that being said, the storyline I did enjoy, but it was very, very slow in a sense. I don't even know how to explain it. It was slow but fast paced all at the same time. It was boring but also very intriguing and captivating all at the same time. Is this something that I would recommend? Maybe, you know, if that's something that you're into, you know, under that umbrella, I would definitely say read it, get into it. But I don't feel like it's something that I will go out of my way to say, oh my gosh, y'all have to read this book. If you don't read it, I don't really feel like you're missing anything. But it was a decent read. It was a decent read. So I did give this 3.5 stars. Like I said, if it's something that it sounds like you're into just based off of what I told you about the storyline, go ahead and get into it, and then you tell me your thoughts. If you actually have read Gothakana, Let me know in the comments. How did you feel about it? Because this is so like, everybody's on one side of the spectrum. I think I might be the first person that's kind of in the middle from what I've seen. But otherwise, any reviews I've seen, anybody is just really, I hated it or I really enjoyed it. So y'all let me know your thoughts if you've read this. The next book I actually read on my Kindle. Is called Burn for Jack by Aiden Pierce. This is the first book that I've read by Aiden Pierce, okay? And just to give y'all a heads up, we have skipped over from the medium realm here and we're all the way over in dark romance now, okay? So with Burn for Jack, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I ate this book up. I was giggling and kicking my feet as if this book was a rom-com. And it is far from contemporary. It is far from rom-com. But I am a person that enjoys dark humor. And I am a person that kind of, I love dark romance in general. So I enjoyed this book. Actually, this was a novella. It was 90 pages long. So I read this fairly quick, okay? So just to give y'all a quick synopsis of what this book is about, you have, of course, I don't remember their names. Well, there's Jack. So this is a monster romance. So if you're a person that likes dark romance, but you like the monster romances that be out, this will probably be something that you get into, okay? The storyline of this, I don't even want to give y'all the storyline. Just know that this book has to do with witches being burned at the stake, reincarnation, ancestors. So just right there, because y'all know I'm a spiritual bitch. So right there, just the fact that this book had ancestors, reincarnation, and then also the talk of witches and magic and all of those things, I was already folding like a goddamn flip phone just for that alone, right? This novella was super fast paced. The storyline, it did have a storyline and it did have a plot. It's tons of spice in there, but I feel like it had a nice balance of plot and spice, okay? So that's why I also enjoyed it. And the fact that revenge was had. Revenge was had. I loved it. I enjoyed this book. Now, I think for some people that might go in there, there's a little bit of talk of like hell and Satan and shit like that or whatever. But I mean, what else do you expect? It's a spooky season type of book, okay? So if you're going to go into it and you're going to read it, at least keep an open mind. Remember that it's fiction, okay? I had a great time with this little novella. It was definitely one of my favorites so far as spooky season is concerned. So if it's something that you're interested in, definitely get into it, y'all. Okay, so with that being said, because I love Burn for Jack so much, and that's the first book that I've read by Aiden Pierce, I wanted to try Bleed for Cupid. This is another novella that came out, and this one was more of a Valentine's Day versus a Halloween type of undertone, but because it's a monster romance, I was like, why the hell not? It still falls under the spooky season category, so, you know. I read that one. I didn't enjoy that one as much. That one I gave 3 stars. This one followed an angel's, Cupid's son, rather. And they were doing love potions, something with love potions and making these love potions for humankind and things of that nature. And of course, you have a FMC in here who's infatuated with Cupid's son and vice versa. He's infatuated with her. So of course, there's a little romance type of situation in there too. It wasn't my favorite. It was a decent read. I had a fairly good time with it, but it's not one that I would scream from the mountaintops to go and read. But again, monster romance. So if you want to give it a shot, go ahead. The next book that I read, of course, we're just getting darker and darker and darker, y'all. As y'all know, I read Madness by Chantel Tessier. I'm not even going to say too much about this book because I did already do a reading vlog for this particular one. Just know that I ate this book up. Also know that this is a super duper dark romance, y'all, okay? It's one of the darkest. And it is a whole entire series. I've done reading vlogs on every single book that has come out up under this series. So if it's something that you're interested in, or if it's something that you've already read and you just kind of want to see what my outlook on it was or my opinion, definitely go check out my reading vlogs. But as far as my rating is concerned, I believe I rated this one a 4.5. The next book that I read, y'all, is also, it's I wouldn't even consider this a dark romance. This one is more of an erotic horror. This is, yeah, it's one of those. It's a horror type of book, but there is a romance, and because it's in the dark category, of course they're going to throw spice in there too. The book that I'm referring to is called Desperate Run, and it is by M.L. Burns and C.J. Riggs. Now, y'all already know I advocate for M.L. Burns. I love the way that her mind is crazy. It's like, and I mean that in the best way possible, okay? She reminds me of the fantasy version of Chantel Tessier, because the way that her mind works as far as plot is concerned, as far as trauma is concerned, as far as, oh my gosh, I just don't even know how to explain it. I just love the way that her mind works, and I love her writing style, okay? I've never actually read anything by C.J. Riggs, though. But after reading this, their writing styles definitely complement each other. Now, from my understanding, CJ writes a lot of horror, or she writes a lot of horrors and erotic horrors type books and novellas. So she falls right up under my favorite genre and category anyway. So reading this book, I actually had a good time, y'all. This one was full of dark humor. And if you know me for real in real life, y'all know I am a dark humor bitch, okay? I love dark humor. It to me is funny, and you know, that's anybody that enjoys dark humor is how we get through our own personal trauma, okay? So it just is what it is. Some things ain't funny to everybody, but it be funny to me sometimes, depending on what it is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This book follows Max is the FMC, and I don't know how to say his name. I don't know if it's Draven or Draven, but either way it goes, he is our morally black character, okay? So he's morally black, Max is morally gray. So you just already know the type of time they finna be on, okay? If you've read No Place to Hide by Harper Ashley, and also the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, put those together. Mesh both of those books together, and you have Desperate Run, essentially, okay? This book, I had such a good time with this book. Now, let me first say that this is my first time reading a novel that's considered an erotic horror, okay? Anyone that I've ever read that was like that has been a novella. I've never read a book, like a full-blown book. This book is like 400 plus pages, okay? And I don't regret any single one of those pages. It was such a good time. The dark humor, Draven is funny. That he was so hilarious to me. I was in here giggling at all of the shit that he was saying. The banter between both of them, also hilarious. Max is a bad ass. I love me a bad character. Like, she was boss. She was boss. I love a FMC. I love when authors make FMCs that aren't weak-minded or aren't like crawling behind these men, or, you know, they fold for these men, but it's a different type of submission. It's not like, oh my God, I can't live, I can't breathe without you, and like my life is over. It's not like that. Like, it's really like, you know, I submit for you, I fold for you, but you also are well aware that I can stand on my own 2 feet, 10 toes down, period, without you. You feel me? Like, I love a badass FMC, and that was Max, hands down. Like, shorty did not play. She did not play. She ain't playing with nobody. Even if she was scared, she was still standing on 10. Period. Like, I loved Max. Loved her down. But this story essentially is like, they're at this, you have to sign up to go to this carnival. It's a secret carnival type of situation. It's not for everybody. Everybody just ain't welcome. Like, you have to get chosen after you sign up. You have to get chosen to be able to join, you know, to play these games at this carnival, right? These aren't ordinary games. These aren't ordinary mazes that they have to go through. You have to sign a waiver that you might lose your life. There is a waiver. Like, you can't just walk up in here and think that you're going to make it out alive, baby. Like, it is a waiver. Within reading this book, it is very, very gory. It can be triggering depending on your own personal triggers, okay? It can be triggering, but it was such a good time. The anxiety towards the end, because you just don't know how this is about to end. You don't know how this is about to happen. You don't know what's getting ready to take place. is crazy. The further into this book you get, the wilder this carnival gets, and the wilder the journey gets, and the wilder the story gets. Like, it's insane. I enjoyed this book. I actually rated this book a 4.5. My only complaint about this book was there was a little bit of repetitiveness for my liking. But outside of that, everything else ate down. Everything else was good, okay? So if this is something that you're into, I believe this book is actually getting ready to drop in October. I can't remember the exact date. So just if you have Goodreads or if you have Amazon or whatever like that, just go ahead and add it to your wish list. Go ahead and add it, onto your TBR. So when it does drop, you'll be able to read it. Perfect for a spooky season, okay? How could it not be? It's a carnival at Halloween, for crying out loud. Get into it. Get into it. The last book on my list is not even spooky season related, but I have started this thing to where every single month I want to try to read at least one book that's going to speak positively to me, because I read so much shit. I read all this fantasy stuff, I read all this dark romance stuff, I read all of this romance and contemporary type of things. Like, I'm just, my reading palette is all over the place. But one of my other favorite genres is self-help and development type of books. So once a month, I want to start reading at least one of those books to make sure that I'm not only feeding my wild side, so to speak, but I do also want to speak to my mind and my spirit too. So the book that I read was The Circle of Fire by Don Miguel Ruiz. Okay, it's fairly short. I think this is like 120 something pages. Now, he is the same author that wrote The Four Agreements, and The Four Agreements is a great read. I didn't finish it yet, but I'm still in the midst of reading it, and so far it is a great read, and it's also one of the books that's praised and pushed the most by this particular author. I did read this one. Not gonna lie to you, it was not my favorite. I think I rated this like a 2, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't my favorite, only because there were some things in here that I agreed with. There were some things in here that I resonated with where I am in my journey right now. But there were also some things that I was just like, I just didn't agree with. And there were other things that just didn't resonate with me personally, because I'm not at that space in my life. Or I've already went through that version of myself and I'm someplace entirely. So there was just different parts that didn't really click for me personally. I also wasn't a fan of how the information was being pushed in this book. It seemed a little bit pushy to me. And me as a spiritualist and, somebody that I guess people call me a spiritual guru because they come to me for advice and come to me for spiritual, works and things of that nature, for readings and, whatever. I'm not somebody that pushes spirituality down anybody's throat. I'm not somebody that pushes anything that I believe in down anybody's throat. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it was given a little bit pushy. And I don't think that was the author's intention. You know what I mean? But that's just how I personally was taking some of the information. So it just didn't, I don't know. I just couldn't really get with a lot that was going on in this book. However, if you are a person that wants to get into spirituality, or if you're somebody that wants to like learn a little bit about how you can develop yourself in a spiritual sense, I would recommend it. It is an easy read. It is a quick read. This may resonate for you a little bit more than it resonated for me personally. So I wouldn't say that it's a bad book. Okay. It wasn't a bad book. It just didn't resonate with me, being that I'm not at that space in my life, So I would still recommend it for anybody that is looking for some type of spiritual guidance. All right. With all that being said, y'all, that is all I got. That is my September wrap up. That's everything. I will be doing a video shortly on what I plan on reading for the month of October. Let me know what y'all read this month. How many books did you read? What did you read? Did you enjoy it? Drop it down in the comments. Let's chat. If you read any of these books that I mentioned, or if you plan on reading it, drop that down in the comments. Let's talk about it, okay? But outside of that, I love y'all so much. Thank you for tuning in per usual, and I will catch you in the next video, okay? Bye, and happy reading.